dust is much bigger than bio attacks.
This is crazy. That's dust.
Due to the dust storm, there's injuries and fatalities.
Oh my God.
I've caught the government doing something strange, and each and every last one of you need to listen to me. This is emergency operational plans. First, in Chicago, a local said that things are getting weird. People are dying left and right in Illinois. And then somebody else in Atlanta, GA, said, my friend died after 52 days hospital, flu-like symptoms. He worked in the fog for his entirety. His blood quit making blood. He had plasma treatments. He had a stroke and a heart attack, dementia-type symptoms. And guess what the crazy part about this is? He was only 32 years old and healthy. Now we have to investigate what happened to people after this fog and dust storm. Something top secret was documented by Manyeka Lady Maturity. She documented every day of the dust storm coming to Chicago, and she saw something highly strange.
So here's the video that I promised with the military flying over the water, hovering. And there are pictures that we have with what appears to be a submarine in the lake. So now that we having these occurrences what we call natural occurrences that seems unnatural, like a dust storm coming from Lake Michigan.
So this happened after the fact that they had a dust storm. And what were they looking for is the big question. Because from her documented videos, you can see that the dust storm came over the ocean from Lake Michigan. And the question is, were they trying to cover something up with something in the water there, and they started a dust storm to stop?
President Trump has appointed Vice President Vance to remove from the Smithsonian Institute the anti-American improper ideology. What is that?
Visibility, or is it something else more sinister? 9 days officially before all of this, something strange happened with the CDC. They have a special unit called the Intelligence Epidemic Services. And officially, on May 7th, they were exempted from the administration's hiring freeze. 7 days after that, I received a text from my law enforcement source that the CDC was with a F-16 military fighter jet at their Emergency Operations Center in Indianapolis Airport. So this is a protocol that they actually do going into this airport, specifically before public health emergencies. And now we get this just days following.
Anyone else got the dust storm cold? On Monday 3 of this weird cold thing.
I remember a couple weeks ago when I did the video about the zombies, or the alleged response team member wearing a bug or a camera into a briefing for an up-and-coming zombie mission. Now, as always, viewer discretion is advised. This stuff may or may not be true. It is alleged that this closely follows a story or about a female doctor who somehow gets intertwined with the world of the undead, zombies. And what she does is she starts hunting them. So this all could be a skit, possibly to promote that said story. Now, you'll hear them say in this meeting that said story is actually quite in tune with reality. But that doesn't mean it's not all a gimmick. Regardless, just as it could be a gimmick, maybe it's valid. Hard to say. But in the last video I did, I only had a couple minutes of the video. Couldn't find the full 8 to 9 minute video. Well, as always, my faithful followers, y'all came through once again, and 2 people ended up sending me the full video. So, yeah, I'm going to play that for you. And thank you to those who did the extra digging for me and helping me out. The first gentleman to send me the 8-minute video was Dayton Alvarado. Thank you, Dayton. I appreciate that. If you guys, I'm going to start probably giving you guys shout outs. Try to anyway when you give me a awesome source, especially one I asked for. So I had to put this back out there. This video was really interesting. It was really cool and fun, really. Hopefully it's fiction, but you never know, I suppose. It's always fun. Truth is stranger than fiction. Most, not all the time, but a lot of times. So keep that narrative in mind. And after you're done watching this, or after I'm done making this video, I'm going to tune into some more. There's been some awesome content online lately. A lot of stuff going on. So I got some catching up to do. Stay tuned, and there will be a...
2. We have an unknown assailant or assailants.
There will be a few videos, at least tonight and tomorrow. So thank you guys, and enjoy. Let me know in the comments what you think.
Most of you have never heard of the Zombie Hazard Unit. Those of you who have will try in vain to find me after you see this. For the rest of you, the activities of this top secret working group have never before been revealed until now. They don't want you to know they exist. There are those of us in the community who feel the public has a right to know of the imminent threat we all face. The following is a briefing, covertly recorded, of the Zombie Hazard
Seats, everyone.
at
We need
work.
to get this meeting started. Before we begin, let me make sure that everybody has picked up their copy of the briefing notes. There are more details. I'm going to give you the outline. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've called this special meeting of the Zombie Hazard Command because we have vital new information and new problems to discuss. Go through some security. Bear with me a moment. All right, first, a little housekeeping. National Security Order 21Z, it passed. Our operational authority is supreme. Use it.
There are terrorists that have been doing biological attacks. By now, you should know exactly who these terrorists are. You will know by the end of this tape. You need to watch this full video. Disclaimer, I do not own these videos. This is for educational purposes. Some of you have asked me, how do you get rid of certain stuff, such as nanotech, such as soft metals, such as worms, tobacco. It kills everything. Just being honest. It won't kill you. You need small doses. You need to eat it. Stick it in your food. Put it in your water. Just let it sit in your water for a while. It'll kill everything. You want to be safe? They're putting stuff in the food. Tobacco, if you eat it, becomes your best friend. They lied about tobacco. They said it will kill you if you take small doses. Well, it won't. Trust me. I'm not going to say what I know, but just know I know that they lie. Small doses will get rid of all those things. It's important. You're all eating the stuff, and now they hit the signal. This is some of the evidence, and as we keep going, you will see what you need to know.
Now back to the topic at hand. As you know, we've been battling a unique biological threat, and we've made little progress. Lack of any live specimens. If a body's found at all, it's already permanently dead. Now, we finally have a live specimen. But before you get too excited, let me stress that it's only one. We need more. So why does this problem exist? Well, the reason for problem number 1 is problem number 2. We have an unknown assailant or assailants. Unknown assailant profile. We have no leads as to the identity of the assailant. Ballistics are untraceable. That's not exactly true. We do know at least most of the time they're using Z-Max ammunition. Weapons in use are 9mm, 45 caliber, and edged weapons. Probable gender, male. Body type, they're strong, muscular, athletic. They're well armed and well trained with munitions. They have a possible military or police background.
She went rogue and started killing all the zombies off because they're trying to catch the zombies to study them. You obviously know why, and you know by the end of this video. Why would you want to study something like that unless you are the one that caused it in the first place?
And they're probably skilled in a variety of martial arts to include hand-to-hand combat. If you're on scene, look for someone fitting this profile. Apprehend if possible, eliminate if necessary. For you jokers out there, I know this describes everyone on the Z teams. So, know your team members.
Alright, y'all, so I'm going to chime in throughout this video and kind of give my input. So, here they're talking about an unknown assailant. So, they didn't really exactly specify, but I'm guessing that it's either the person behind the zombies or our rogue zombie killer who's allegedly possibly a doctor, but I've heard that she was female, not male, but it's hard to say. We all know that with government, regardless of whether or not this person is helping them get rid of the zombies, they would attempt to apprehend that person for questioning, etc. It's kind of like the vigilante justice thing. They just don't really like vigilante justice. So, assuming that this is all real, or in the scenario that it is real, I picked this up as they're like a underground hero, not necessarily the person behind these zombies. But let me know what you think. That they also talked about possible specimens to run testing on. They hadn't had any, but now they got one.
Problem number 3, identification of infectious agent. Here's where it gets interesting. We now have research notes from a top U.S. scientist who is intimately familiar with a zombie infection. He studied both the pre- and post-mortem zombie condition before PD. He has identified and named the virus, Cryptonecrophagia vulgaris.
Cryptonecrophagia vulgaris. Now that's a mouthful.
CNV.
Now when it comes out in the news, they're going to call it something different. In fact, they already are naming it something different. And they already saying there's an outbreak going to happen soon.
Retrovirus, and there's no cure. This scientist notes indicate prions may also be involved in the infectious process. However, at this point it remains unclear what, if any, role they play. Remember the single life subject I mentioned earlier? Unfortunately, the subject and scientist are one and the same. We do not know how much time he has left before he's no longer of any use, except perhaps for dissection.
So there you have it. Somehow the doctor that was intricately studying it either contracted it or did it to himself, who knows, for the sake of the study. Hard to say, probably most likely contracted it. But he is also the specimen. And it sounds like his time is running out.
So we need more live specimens. Keep that in mind during operations. Problem number 4. Mode of transmission, currently unknown. Transmission modes ruled out: bites, scratches, casual contact, vector infection, droplet, or airborne spread. Some Z team members can attest.
Just so you know, the movie's kind of forced it. You don't turn into a zombie from a scratch or even necessarily a bite. You can turn into one, but it doesn't happen a lot. But what kills you is the bite, because they try to bite you in the head because they want your brains. You understand what's going on. You should understand it by now.
To the fact that bites and scratches don't spread infection, at least not yet. To date, 12 team members have been wounded while engaged in field operations. They've undergone mandatory 90-day quarantine. None have showed any signs of infection.
At least not yet. So they stay in them to find out how could they make these things more potent, live longer, and make it so they scratch and bite you and you turn into a zombie. This is why they're studying it. Why would you want to study it unless you're the one behind it?
Not all team members are out of quarantine yet, but we hope they'll be released and return to active duty soon.
Now, this one surprised me because all the movies depict it as you get bit, you turn. So, the fact that from a bite, any scratch, or physical contact, you don't get the zombie disease is really intriguing. Kind of caught me off guard.
Problem number 5. Emerging public awareness of the situation. I'm going to mention each of these points, then talk about them in greater detail. There are things you need to know. First, the Coconut Grove fly-in. Many of you were there. Then there's the Miami incident. Some of you were there. The CDC Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Release. DHS released a fake zombie preparedness story. Then there's the recent purchases of large quantities of ammunition. About the Coconut Grove fly-in, Z-Teams 1, 2, and 3 cleaned down a zombie cell. That got a lot of public attention. Our cover story was that this was an urban assault.
As you get bit, you turn. So, the fact that from a bite, any scratch.
Their cover story was that it's bath salt. I don't know why that they cut them off so quick. The cover story was it was bath salt. Solving stories when people were attacking folks and actually trying to eat their heads, and some actually did bite them, eat their heads, is because they turned into zombies. Because they, you know what? And you're gonna see what I'm talking about.
Or physical contact, you don't get the zombie disease. It's really intriguing. Kind of caught me off guard.
Problem number 5. Emerging public awareness of the situation. I'm going to mention each of these points, then talk about them in greater detail. There are things you need to know. First, the Coconut Grove fly-in. Many of you were there. Then there's the Miami incident. Some of you were there. The CDC Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Release. DHS released a fake zombie preparedness story. Then there's the recent purchases of large quantities of ammunition. About the Coconut Grove fly-in, Z-Teams 1, 2, and 3 cleaned down a zombie cell. That got a lot of public attention. Our cover story was that this was an urban assault exercise in preparation for the upcoming UN meeting. For now, our cover story is holding, but one got away. That led to the Miami incident. That should never have happened. About the Miami incident. Some of you were there. Our cover story was bath salts. That was blown when the autopsy results were leaked. There were no bath salts present. We're still dealing with the fallout, and we're investigating the leak. The CDC Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Release that was sent out against our wishes. Then they changed their story. This brought even more attention to it than if they'd just left it alone. Next, DHS released a fake zombie preparedness story, also against our wishes, but it's out there. So we're going to use it as our cover story. Next month, DHS is running a 1,000-person training exercise in San Diego. Z-Teams 2, 4, and 5 will be doing a cleanup operation in another part of the city at the same time. This gives us plausible deniability. I shouldn't have to stress how important this is. Make certain none of them get away.
So this is kind of crazy. Remember when the CDC put out the zombie apocalypse preparedness form? And remember when Amazon put out you could use their lumber in the case of a zombie apocalypse. I remember everybody kind of taking it as a joke, laughing about it all. But anyway, I don't remember the DHS putting anything out or their 1,000-person exercise, but who knows. Then they talk about the Coconut Grove flyover. Never really heard of that. Let me know in the comments, I guess, if you have. I never really looked into it, or haven't looked into it, I guess. But I do remember the Miami incident. That was a big deal. But yes, they said it was bath salts. I'd never heard about them releasing anything saying that it wasn't, but I guess, who knows. Let's just say if this, they're doing a pretty elaborate job here. It's pretty interesting, pretty neat regardless. So, intriguing nonetheless.
We don't want another Miami incident. About the ammo purchases. We've used news and various media outlets to float the idea that unprecedented large ammo purchases are for government agencies to defend against civil unrest in anticipation of economic collapse. Those of you in this room know all too well that this is a much nicer bedtime story than the truth. Reality is much less pleasant. Right now, the cover story is working.
See, myself, I thought the ammo purchases were in part because of the election and because of, obviously, COVID.
Problem number 6, weakening of current cover stories. Bath salts. In Florida, bath salts was a go-to drug of choice. The autopsy leak created problems for this story. Other drugs, synthetic marijuana and S21, were floating these in Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Crazy people were floating this idea in Louisiana, New York, and Chicago. Animal attacks were floating this story in Georgia, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. We estimate 2 years of viability for these cover stories. Finally, problem number 7, public distribution of full disclosure of current operations. Some brainiac has lined up all the recent events and past history like beads on a string. We don't know where he's getting his information, but too much of the actual facts of our operation are woven into the story. It's not coincidence. He's getting his information somewhere. The story is Dr. Eve Zombie Killer.
There you go. That's the story. Dr. Eve Zombie Killer. I haven't really looked into it or anything like that, but I imagine it's pretty cool. So I may look into it after this. But there you go. It supposedly has a doctor who's a rogue zombie killer. Really cool, really interesting theory or theme, I guess you'd say. Definitely worth a look.
Was presented as a fictional novel. LabyrinthofArts.com is an independent website where the book can be found. For those of you who are wondering, we currently have no plans to shut down this website. We need to gather further intelligence, find out what their sources of information are, and plug whatever leaks we find. Right now, John Q. Public does not know what's happening. We'd like to keep it that way. If you have any questions, I'll address them in my office after the meeting. You now have the facts as we understand them. This briefing is adjourned. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good day.
Many risks have been taken to bring this information to light, but there are those of us in the community that feel it's worth the risks. We believe the public has a right to know what's going on and how it's being covered up. This is real. It's happening now, all around you.
There you have it, guys. What do you think? Is this real, or was this all to just promote that book? It could be either or, I guess. Very interesting. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. Either way, it's an awesome story, good fun, and interesting to ponder over, because the zombie apocalypse thing is a narrative that people seem to vibe with, right? So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed. I love you guys, and check out my other video on the Backrooms. If you need a little more background information on it, check out YouTube and just type in the Backrooms. The videos are going wild. It'll give you a little more background, and then maybe you'll find that video a little more intriguing about how to survive the Backrooms. It doesn't seem to be as popping on Facebook for some reason, but yeah, on YouTube, dude, it is.
Alright, so I am Specialist Kaminsky, Washington National Guard. This is Specialist Woolman, Washington National Guard. And what are we doing here, Specialist Woolman? Well, as you see, we have a couple lanes up here. We've had some zombie activity in these derelict buildings in this Salem little country town. We're just trying to clear it out, trying to keep everybody safe. We haven't had any casualties come through just yet, but we have had some gunshots in these surrounding buildings. Why don't we take a walk down there and see? So how common are these things? Well, we're thinning out the herd slightly, but it's still a really menacing threat. Yeah, people don't know that it's actually a biological threat, not a chemical or radiological, like people are meant to know. That's super common. This is like biological as it is. It's like a rash. It's like it's not an environment that people decide to deal with. You know what I'm saying? It's
Alright, y'all, I got something good for you. I've been putting this on the back burner, but I'm going to show it now. Y'all remember way back when I did a video on zombies, where the guy, he wore the camera. He was part of the zombie task force. He wore the camera in one of their briefings. General talked about how there were zombies in Florida and how they can't let them out anymore. And then they talked about the scientists doing lab testing for a cure. And then he ended up catching the virus, and he was one of the subjects now. They needed to catch one live. Okay, so y'all remember that. And let's not forget the rogue female doctor who was a vigilante.
Fairly commonly, I'd say once every 3 months somewhere in America. All right.
So you see this big building right here?
Yeah.
We already cleared this one out about 2 hours ago. But we're still hearing noises. We still hear some scraping around in there. I think there might be a couple little things still going on. But we're going to take another sweep through there. And I said we're right now set up for any possible contamination.
Gonna sweep it again.
All right, and the point of this right now is to decon any of our guys or any civilians that are caught.
Absolutely. Anything from a slight blood splatter to a full-on bite or a penetrating wound.
But in fact, not everyone who gets bitten transforms. I know there's a lot of misconception with all the movies and stuff going on. You know, fairly common to see these guys just laughing. I mean, it's a pretty safe thing. A full-blown epidemic is pretty much not likely to happen. You have to have a predispositioned ability to get turned into one.
Absolutely. Not only that, but it's a bite that really kills you. You already have the strand available in your stream to turn into this zombie or this flesh eater or this. Biggest misconception is that they don't go for the brain. A lot of TV shows put that out that they eat brain, but no.
But nevertheless, we take this quite seriously.
Absolutely.
It's a huge operation we have going right now. We liaison with several different guard agencies and even the Homeland Response.
Homeland
Yes,
Security.
You see their major vehicle. It's just on the other side of this tent. We're going to get to their vantage point really.
All right, let's take a walk. Yeah.
So you heard them. They don't just go for the brain. They go for anything.
Yeah, just watch your step. Watch your step.
Of course. I mean, we don't really choose the areas these things happen at, and we got the best option, best place where to do it.
Yeah, you notice how it's wild. It's basically a backyard. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Work with what you have. And then around this corner, nice fresh mud. Actually, that's what I'm doing first.
But that just turned out to be advantageous. Right now we're being by the generators, so we probably won't be able to hear much. We got a huge generator.
Look at all those generators, y'all.
Stretchers, any wounded.
Now these mobile stations up here are the Homeland Defense.
Okay.
They're fairly well organized and they're really the first responders.
Wow.
You see another one of our derelict buildings.
It's this big time.
We haven't heard a whole lot of activity from it. It's one of our next major hotspots to hit.
We have MPs around the whole area containing the situation so it doesn't spread.
A perimeter is super important in a situation like this. We control what's going on the site, but we have to control what's going on around the site as well.
That we do. And we have a...
Ben's wife keeps peeking at him from around corners and behind furniture, and it's gone from weird to terrifying. Ben and his wife Lynn had been together for 6 years and married for just 11 months, but their entire history together had been very normal, and he never noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. He can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing was for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. She's always been the no-nonsense type of person.
Storm, and I know I feel like I sound crazy saying that, but I have been coughing so bad. I swear I feel like I pulled something in my ribcage, and I'm not the only one. I know several people that have gotten this weird cough, and I'm like, maybe it's allergies. I'm gonna be honest, I got some stomach issues. It's a whole thing that is not fun. So is there anybody out there that went through the dust storm and got this weird cold thing, comes with a little bit of a fever, crazy coughing?
And there's two other weird things happening as the fog rolls through.
It is time that we change that equation and start doubling down on the protection of the homeland. Golden Dome is a bold and aggressive approach to hurry up and protect the homeland from our adversaries?
So one of my military viewers came on the channel a while ago talking about a space fence. He said that they would put this over United States of America, but not just United States, the world. This seems like a smaller form of that in the future. I'm gonna get them to come back on. Back to the two weird things that's happening though while the fog rolling in. One, kapoof. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. But two, totally different scenario. And my viewer has firsthand knowledge of this.
I want to shoot this out to my homie Steven over at JW Workout Channel. Me and my baby boy, we took off, and that cat been driving with me all around the country, everywhere for some years now. I've been doing this type of work for like 5 years. When I left Washington, my cat was fine. I was fine. We don't get sick. We don't take shots. I noticed a lot of fog when I got out of, say, Washington. After passing through all that fog, my cat got so sick. I went to work one morning, and I got back from work for the second day. I just ran around picking up my cat's drinking fountains and all his food and everything he liked. And my poor...
You can't give cats tobacco. So if your cat gets sick from something that's acting funny, you may want to just bring your cat someplace like a shelter or something. I hate to say that, but, or, I don't know, because really your cat might turn into a zombie. There's been stories about people waking up out their graves too, and even at their funerals recently. Not a good thing. So I'm just telling you, hey, it is what it is. So it affects your animals too. You can feed dogs tobacco though. Alright? Once a month. And really you might not want to have a pet around this time, because if it can affect the animals, they guarantee they put in the animals food too.
My poor boy, he couldn't even walk to the fountain. It broke my fucking heart, honestly. And it came out of nowhere. I don't know. It let out a horrible wallow that night. I grabbed my baby boy. I put him next to me. I slept with him. I woke up like 2 hours later. He was gone. I remember I took him to a cremation place. I had him cremated. What I noticed was there was a lot of people. I'm talking about a lot of people who had lost animals that week.
I'm sorry that this happened to you, Kyle. I hope this helps every pet owner and anybody in general to decontaminate when you go through this fog. So to figure out what they could be putting in the fog, a little bit more than biological, what is it specifically doing inside the body of animals and humans that could accelerate a sudden situation. A doctor at a hospice comes out and tells us a little bit more about that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faith Banks, Pet Hospice Vet. At the Animal Health Laboratory at the University of Guelph in Canada, they did a study and they looked at sudden death in pets. So these are not pets that were dying of old age. This was, pet was fine one day and dead the next, or even an hour later they were dead. So they looked at a number of dogs that had been brought in for postmortems, and they found that the number one reason of sudden death in dogs was because of unknown cancer. Quite often, these dogs bled internally, and that caused them to die. Heart issues or heart disease and lung disease were next in line as the reasons for sudden death in dogs. In cats, it was a little bit different. Cancer was actually at the bottom of the list for cats, and heart disease was at the top of the list for the number one reason for a cat to pass suddenly.
And then what's happening next? Poof. People are being reported to just not be around after walking into a man reports, I'll never forget when I saw my coworker at the gas station, and before leaving, he dabbed me up and said, "All right, see you in the fog," and walked away. I haven't seen him since. There is no way for us to investigate this further. I mean, anything could have happened to this guy, but we do have something even more critical along the same line. And absolutely crazy is the viewer who coughed up the creature looking terrifying thing named Audrey stays on some supernatural area of Appalachian Mountains where creatures and then unnatural fog shows up. Red alert, jingle bells, wake up. I would have been out of there already. Her property is in the Appalachian Mountains where unnatural fog has been reported for years. James Holbrook, there is a story of a ranger who was a veteran in survival training and tactics, knew his way around, and had 6 years experience in the Appalachian Mountains where my viewer lives. He ended up saying that the weather was totally fine one day. Then he gets ready to go out and says that there is an unusual fog that came out of nowhere. And he said it looked like it had fingers. And then when they went to go and do a search for him on his last transmission, he stated on the table, the fog is not the fog. And they said his keys, his wallet, and watch was assembled in the perfect triangle. And they never found this dude again. A military project activates Fogmen, a secret site that's more classified than Area 51. Essentially, like they said, at the low frequency wave, demons interact with the low frequencies. These are classified as low frequencies. They could use these things through fog. They summon these things through the low frequency waves. So they already exist. They're already spirits. They're just being called in at a certain specific time. When they hit the monkeys with 12 hertz of frequency, they notice an erratic behavior started happening of stimuli. But then afterwards, 30 to 60 seconds, they started calming down, like they were under some type of control. The amygdala part of the brain, which is responsible for processing emotion, stimuli, fear, joy. And this is the final plan. It's spiritual. In spiritual warfare, they're going to use DARPA, they're going to use HAARP to attenuate frequencies as they block the sun. That is the ultimate factor where then they summon the beings into the world at a higher rate. And that's when we all run to the field for spiritual war. And then some of us like hiding, no. You know, the rest of us shielding up to get prepared for it. I mean, it's gonna be wow. Because the demons will lose. The dark forces will lose. They don't have the ability to rule over free souls. But first, in order for us to live to see it, we gotta fight the parasitic biological attack. And that's why I created the BioShield protocol, because I'm telling you exactly step by step how to airily cleanse your house from the parasites. Right after the fall, you can go detox the lungs, what exactly to do, and then we're going to the nanotech, the sound waves, everything else you need to do in order to be prepared. But if people don't watch this, they're going to strike us so bad we won't see it coming. But this is the weapon system to fight back. See video 1 and find out the rest of the things they've been hiding. The biological weather, the CDC cover-ups, the open attack.
I'm passionate. Why? That's 34 years of animals.
The National Academy of Sciences has canceled an upcoming workshop meant to help protect people against an H5N1 bird flu infection because
This is not rain. This is complete dust. My plants are all dead.
I need each and every last one of you to listen closer to what I'm saying, because these are emergency activated plans. Entire regions all across the United States and even Australia and across the world right now are experiencing this dust storm. And they're trying to say it was just because of chemicals. Weirdly enough, front door camera footage shows the dust looking like rain. So now we gotta investigate what's going on. There is something else in here. It's potentially a biocarrier, and this guy shows a little bit more of what he saw next.
You guys want to see the dust? This is not rain. This is complete dust. And you can see it's worse and worse over there.
And it does. It's in your face. Like you can feel it in your face.
I thought it was going to rain.
It looked like rain, but nothing was on the radar. Pretty crazy stuff. I think it's so dusty. I need a beer.
And just a day after the dust storm, something weird happened in this person's yard.
I don't know at this point. My plants are all dead. There, let's start off with that. Marigolds are dead. The morning glories are dead. The zinnias, dead. And everything has been impacted. Nothing else grew. The only thing I still have, though, are all 4 of my radishes. They seem to be doing okay. And the sunflower.
And not just the dust storm. Another scenario with the hail started happening right after it, showing signs of something biological happening. But pay attention to this part. Right after the dust storm, a pediatrician has come out with something that's been seen in the hospitals, and then she says something really strange next.
On this week's What's Going Around, we did 239 sick visits in the office. We ran 46 strep tests, 10 were positive, that's 21%. We had 5 viral panels, 1 was flu A, 1 was flu B. In the Chicago area, 21% of viral illnesses are rhinoenterovirus, 4% are human metapneumovirus, 2% are paraflu, 2% are adenovirus, 1% is influenza, and 1% is COVID. In the office, we mostly saw a lot of viral illnesses, whether they be colds, croup, sore throats, and fifth disease. We saw a lot of ear infections, a lot of seasonal allergies with puffy eyes again, and sniffly noses, wheezing, again, whether you have asthma and it just is exacerbated, or a new viral illness, or some allergies.
Why would she say a new viral illness so casually? And that led me to find something so devastating that everybody around the world is in the same position right now. A law enforcement source has been watching Black Hawk helicopter moves, and other people have showed me helicopter moves with Black Hawks, along with strange CDC emergency style activation moves, and there's nothing that the public even knows about. And next, what this doctor exposes shows an emergency operational plan, secret continuity of government operation.
The National Academy of Sciences has canceled an upcoming workshop meant to help protect people against an H5N1 bird flu infection because the Department of Health and Human Services told them they had to stop this activity. It is unclear why the CDC terminated this contract with the National Academies of Science, but many people really wanted to have this workshop because they wanted to learn more about how they could protect themselves against bird flu. This does not seem to be in the best interest of our public health.
They had a huge scientific study where they were saying just a year ago that bioaerosols, and what are bioaerosols? They're airborne particles of biological origin, including bacteria, fungi, viruses, and pollen. They can be generated from various sources, including soil, water, plants, animals, and can be transported locally or globally. Bioaerosols can have significant impacts on human health. So what they did was they sprayed some particles that were suspended in the air, mixed with fungi, which has been seen in a lot of people's yards. And this was supposed to be a bio-index to an outbreak, giving them data off of these little suspended particles that has nanotechnology in it, most likely. And so we have evidence of fungi. We see the suspended particles in the atmosphere. They said the bird flu transmission was highly low. So that leads you to one thing. Everything being built up led us to now we're under a real emergency. And now people have to deal with CDC goons coming up to them and doing this.
I'm passionate. Why? That's 34 years of animals that live to 75. They have names. You tell Connor, you tell Ethan, you tell Hayden, you tell each one of them that you're going to come in here and shoot them. Tell Speckles.
This isn't something
tell Lulu.
we want to be doing. But there's a policy in place that we must follow.
Well, it's time. This is the first in Canada. This is the time you guys can change the policies. You can put in your report. Every bird looks healthy, please.
That's not our decision to make. To go against the entire industry.
Does make that decision?
Yeah, Wendy, you say they're looking at changing it,
From
please.
national industry in consultation with the CFA and the Canadian government. That's if you want to say, okay, we're not going to eradicate, we want to move to something different, that's a conversation that has to happen at the national level.
And so I seen the plan where they built it structure by structure, layer by layer to build up the tension. But first, I found something even more terrifying that you really need to know right now. This next part, listen to me carefully because I can't say everything right now. People who, and the spike, and then, proteins, something really strange is happening to them.
I want to add also a comment to what Tina said about the change in personality, depression, and all these things. This is very real, and we have identified the reasons from the theory, and some doctors in Italy some pathologists have confirmed that. Despite, unfortunately, attacks and destroys also the endocrine system. So the glands producing hormones, and hormones are what make our emotions. So an Italian pathologist near Venice on a newspaper telling that all the brains he had investigated, he found the pineal gland completely destroyed.
The gate to the spiritual realm is what they disconnected. It's like when they always put the anointed oil right here on your forehead. That was the spiritual gate. I know people who took it who didn't change, but I think that had to do with certain things that right away they took to remove certain things from the bodies. But if you know people who did change and just are not themselves anymore, let us know here in the comments. This next part is literally about you and me. And I ain't violent. I don't want violence. This document that came out, and see, so they realized one of us who were then put on that are on a list now, and they have a network called Charm, and that network will be used as when something is dispersed to then target those who were on that list, because it's easier now that this network is already inside of our homes. The bioaerosols expanded the network even further with the nanotechnology. Listen closely, because this is what they're going to do. CDC's newly established Charm Network will monitor members of the community for viral infection and immune response to a variety of respiratory viruses, gathering vital information that can be used to guide public health response and help the nation better prepare for respiratory virus outbreaks. The Charm Network will contain 3 types of research cohorts, or study populations, which will allow researchers to gain an in-depth understanding of dynamics of respiratory illnesses. Longitudinal cohorts will track new respiratory illnesses and spread over a long span of time. And it says, the system responds to respiratory viruses and household transmission. Listen, if the Charm Network goes rogue, and all signs show that it will, we're going to need each other more than ever. That's why I'm building a real-time community watch right here on this channel. If you subscribe right now, you're not just joining the channel, you're joining the Frontline Network. When the surveillance happens, we respond. When they target households, we expose it. And when one of us is in danger, you'll find help in these comments. And go through them right now, and you'll see that people here are willing to have each other's back, even from afar, because we need that community again. Stop letting the enemy have their networks against us. Drop I'm in the comments if you're with us, and sub now before this network tighten its grip. Loyal people here, make